My friend, gather around. In a world so full of noise, deadlines, and unexpected twists of fate, there is a rare and precious quality that many yearn for, yet few truly master: calm composure. We see men racing from one obligation to another, faces drawn with tension, anxiously checking their devices as though the next message or notification might upend their lives. Sometimes these men lash out at the smallest provocation: a harsh word from a colleague, a traffic jam on the highway, or a partner's delayed response. At other times, they let dread gnaw at them in silence. All the while, they wonder how to remain level-headed when life's currents tug them in every direction. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to smash that like button and hit subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Did you know only 15% of you watching are subscribed? If you find these insights valuable, join our community and tap the notification bell so you never miss out on future content. Today, I invite you to contemplate how you might cultivate that calm composure. In short, how to maintain your equilibrium in any situation, come what may, following the example of the ancient Stoics. Now, when I say Stoic, perhaps you imagine someone with a grim face, unmoved by joy or sorrow, seemingly immune to the ups and downs of life. But true Stoicism, as practiced by thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, was never about snuffing out emotion or living as a passionless statue. Rather, it was about guiding your mind and spirit so you are not mastered by fear, anger, or despair. Stoicism teaches that you can still experience the full range of human feeling while maintaining an unshakable center, a place where your soul can rest undisturbed like the eye of a storm. I recall my younger days, drifting through cities in search of the next big opportunity. I was eager to prove my worth, to climb whatever ladder was before me, and in that haste I was easily flustered by disappointments. A missed call from a prospective employer could sour my mood for days. A tense conversation with someone I admired could leave me sleepless at night, replaying every word. If a plan fell apart, my frustration flared like a wildfire, hot and destructive. Looking back, I see now that I lacked any real composure. My temperament was at the mercy of external events, buffeted like a rudderless boat in choppy seas. By chance, I discovered the writings of Seneca in a second-hand bookstore. There, nestled among dusty tomes, I found letters that spoke of adversity, not as an enemy, but as a teacher. The Stoics insisted that my true adversary was never the rude coworker, the lost job, or the unkind rumor. It was my own reaction. They taught that within me lay the power to interpret events in a way that preserves peace of mind. Intrigued, I read further. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, confided to himself, and centuries later to us, that we are disturbed not by things, but by the view we take of them. That single revelation struck me like a thunderbolt. If I could but change my view, I might be free from the tyranny of overreaction. I could face disappointment, anger, and fear with steady eyes, no longer captive to impulsive emotions. That discovery set me on a path, one that led me to practice what I will share with you now: a systematic approach to staying calm. I do not pretend to have achieved perfect serenity. Even Marcus Aurelius admitted he wrestled with impatience and frustration. But I have found that by applying a handful of Stoic principles, one can drastically reduce the frequency of emotional eruptions, or at least minimize the damage they cause. Over time, these principles become habits, embedded in the mind, forging a more composed self who is less reactive and more reflective. Think of it like strengthening a muscle. Each moment of self-control, each time you pause before reacting, you give that muscle a little more power. The result is a manner of being that is at once gentle and formidable. Gentle in outward conduct, formidable in its inner stability. If you sometimes feel your composure slip away in critical moments, maybe during a high-stakes negotiation, an argument at home, or a crisis that demands quick thinking, I urge you to take heart. You are not doomed to remain a slave to your impulses. Stoic teachings insist that we can train our minds to interpret and respond more wisely, no matter our upbringing or past. The mind, after all, is malleable. Epictetus was once a slave in physical chains, yet he spoke of mental freedom more persuasively than most freeborn philosophers. That alone tells us that external constraints do not decide our inner life. We may be battered by fortune, but we need not be broken by it. So let us begin with the core Stoic concept of discernment, learning to tell which aspects of life are within your control and which are not. If a stranger insults you on the street, can you stop them from doing so? Likely not, but you can govern how you interpret the insult. Is it, in fact, an accurate reflection of your worth? Probably not. Then why allow yourself to be enraged by a baseless remark? You might compare it to a dog barking at you from behind a fence. There is no reason to take it personally. You cannot silence every dog that barks, nor can you seal the lips of every ill-tempered person you encounter. But you can decide whether to let their words pass harmlessly by or to let them burrow into your mind. This principle extends to countless scenarios: a delayed flight, an unexpected car repair, the opinion someone holds about your work, even the weather. The Stoics remind us that it is futile and a source of much unnecessary anguish to invest our emotional energy in matters we do not control. I recall an incident from my mid-20s. I had saved for months to attend a job interview in another city, an interview that might have significantly boosted my career. But on the day of my flight, a severe storm forced the airport to close. Flights were canceled en masse. My frustration soared. I felt singled out by fate's cruelty. I considered shouting at the airline staff. But what good would that do? The storm, after all, was not something I or they could control. Eventually, after sulking in a corner for an hour, I remembered the Stoic approach. I drew a slow breath and thought, if there is a later flight, I will try to get on it. If the airline can reimburse me or reschedule, I will pursue that. If neither is possible, I will communicate politely with the company to see if we can conduct a phone interview or meet at another time. By accepting the reality of the storm and focusing on what I could do, I preserved my calm. True, my plan was derailed, and I ended up missing that particular interview, but it did not become a catastrophe for my emotional well-being. Instead, it became a test of my composure. In any scenario that threatens to upend your calm, an argument with your spouse, a rumor that damages your reputation, or a sudden financial squeeze, begin by asking, what is truly within my power here and what is not? Then pour your energy into the first category and release your futile grip on the second. This mental shift alone can reduce a world of stress, because much of our turmoil arises from trying to control the uncontrollable. The more you practice this method, the quicker you'll recognize which aspects are truly yours to handle. But knowledge is not enough. We also need practice. The Stoics often recommended rehearsing adversity in the mind, a technique sometimes called negative visualization or premeditatio malorum. For instance, if you have a big presentation at work, envision possible hurdles, a technology failure, a skeptical audience, a question you cannot answer. Then, calmly rehearse how you would maintain your composure in each scenario. This mental simulation primes you to remain collected when real difficulties strike. It is not about being paranoid, it is about preparing yourself to handle hiccups gracefully. Athletes visualize their performances before competing, so too can we visualize our emotional responses, training ourselves to stay calm under stress. Moreover, calm composure demands that we manage our inner dialogue, those constant mental narratives that shape how we interpret the world. If your self-talk is full of catastrophizing, blame, or anger, this is unbearable. He always disrespects me. If I fail now, everything is ruined. You fan the flames of panic or rage. Instead, consider adopting a more tempered, rational script. This is challenging but not catastrophic. I can handle a measure of disrespect without losing my integrity. One setback does not define my entire future. Over time, these gentler, more realistic statements become internal habits that keep your mind from spiraling when a crisis erupts. But let us pause here and acknowledge a concern. Some people equate calm composure with weakness or passivity. They believe that a real man should bristle at insults, fight back at every slight, and let the world know he will not be trifled with. Yet experience often shows that brash aggression and constant anger do not yield lasting respect or genuine power. They create enemies, burn bridges, and corrode one's own peace of mind. True strength is not found in erupting at every provocation, but in mastering the self so fully that provocation loses its sting. A man who can keep his head when others are losing theirs projects an aura of quiet confidence that often commands more respect than bluster ever could. You might think of the samurai tradition in ancient Japan, where the greatest warriors were trained not just in swordsmanship, but in self-control. They practiced meditation, cultivated a serene focus, and valued the ability to remain unshaken by fear or insult. This ethos parallels the Stoic approach. If you are so easily shaken that an insult or minor frustration can reduce you to rage, you become predictable, easily manipulated. If your composure runs deep, you respond thoughtfully rather than merely reacting, and you remain master of yourself in all circumstances. It may help to reflect on how composure can serve your long-term interests. A momentary lash of anger, for example, might lead to words you cannot take back, damaging a vital relationship or a professional opportunity. Impulsive decisions, driven by panic, can saddle you with regret for years. By maintaining calm, you can weigh your options more carefully, pick your words more wisely, and preserve alliances that might benefit you down the road. While others flail in the storm, you remain the clear-eyed pilot steering the ship. Over time, this capacity can distinguish you in the workplace, at home, and in social circles. But perhaps you wonder, how do I sustain calm composure over time without succumbing to apathy or indifference? The Stoics would answer that there is a difference between detachment from illusions and detachment from life itself. You do not become uncaring. You simply learn not to stake your well-being on outcomes or opinions beyond your control. You still love, you still strive, you still hope, but you do these things from a position of internal strength rather than desperate clinging. In fact, men who master composure often find they have more energy to devote to meaningful pursuits because they are not drained by emotional roller coasters. They can show up for loved ones with genuine presence, unclouded by constant worry or anger. Let me share a story from my own life, a moment when composure was put to the test. Years ago, I was involved in a tense negotiation over a contract that would affect several employees under my supervision. The other party came in hostile, threatening to pull out of the deal if we did not accept their unfavorable terms. Their representative seemed eager to provoke me, perhaps hoping I would slip up or speak rashly, weakening our position. My heart pounded. The stakes were high. But as soon as I felt that surge of adrenaline, I recalled Marcus Aurelius's counsel to remain both firm and untroubled. I took a deliberate breath, reminded myself that I could not control their aggression, only my response. I spoke calmly, asked clarifying questions, and refused to mirror their combative tone. Their representative grew frustrated. He had expected a heated exchange. Instead, he faced a man who would not be easily riled, who insisted on reason and fairness. Ultimately, we reached a compromise that, while not perfect, protected the interests of my team more effectively than if I had lost my temper. Afterward, a colleague asked how I had stayed so collected under pressure. I told him I had practiced mental discipline, that I saw no reason to indulge rage when clear thinking was required. He looked intrigued, as though I had revealed some hidden art. Yet truly, it was nothing more than Stoic principle in action. This leads me to emphasize the role of daily cultivation. Just as an athlete trains routinely to maintain peak physical condition, so must a Stoic-minded man train his psyche. A few minutes each day, whether in the morning or at night, spent in quiet reflection can prime your mind for composure. You might consider journaling about any moments that triggered you, analyzing what you could have done differently. Or you could begin the day with a brief meditation on controlling your inner dialogue, reminding yourself that external events need not dictate your peace. Over weeks and months, these small routines accumulate, making calm composure your natural default rather than an occasional effort. And remember, do not expect perfect Stoic calm 24/7. We are human. We feel. We err. Even Seneca admitted to struggling with anger on occasion. Rather than condemning yourself for every lapse, see each misstep as a chance to refine your practice. If you do lose your composure, yell at a loved one, panic over a minor setback, do not wallow in guilt. Instead, reflect on the trigger, reaffirm your Stoic approach, and resolve to do better next time. Growth in composure is incremental and often subtle. One day, you will notice that something that once sent you into a tailspin hardly ruffles your feathers anymore. That is the quiet victory Stoicism offers. Let us also speak of humility. Composure can sometimes be mistaken for arrogance if you come across as dismissive of others' emotional struggles. That is not the Stoic way. A Stoic man recognizes that every person is grappling with his or her burdens. Rather than belittling their turmoil, he offers empathy. He knows that composure is a journey, not an inherent superiority. In a heated argument, you might diffuse tension by calmly acknowledging the other person's frustration without letting it poison your own mood. You might say, "I can see you're upset. Let's step back and see how we can address this." Such calm empathy can work wonders in de-escalating conflicts, often leading the other person to lower their guard. Still, you must guard against sliding into people-pleasing or submission. Stoicism urges us to maintain our sense of self and virtue. Remaining calm does not mean yielding to unjust demands. You can be both composed and assertive. If a situation or relationship is toxic, calm composure might mean walking away or setting firm boundaries, rather than lashing out in anger. This measured approach is more likely to safeguard your long-term interests and emotional health. In practical terms, I often suggest that men seeking Stoic composure identify their frequent triggers. Maybe you snap when you feel disrespected, or you crumble under financial worries. By pinpointing these sore spots, you can craft a strategy for dealing with them. For instance, if financial stress undermines your calm, build a plan. Track your spending, create an emergency fund, or consult a trusted mentor. Once you've done what you can to manage the situation, practice acceptance for what lies beyond your power. This combination of proactive problem-solving and serene acceptance is at the heart of Stoic calm. You might also find it helpful to adopt a physical grounding technique in the heat of stressful moments. Something as simple as taking 3 slow, measured breaths, focusing on each inhale and exhale. This mini pause can short-circuit panic, giving your rational mind time to reassert itself. Alternatively, some men rely on a mental mantra, a short phrase that anchors them in Stoic wisdom, such as "focus on what I can control," or "this too shall pass." Repeating it silently can help you ride out waves of anger or anxiety. But even beyond these tactics, the real transformation comes when Stoic calm becomes your natural lens, the perspective through which you view all of life's fluctuations. You stop resisting the unchangeable and start directing your energy where it counts. You relish the present moment without losing sight of eternal values. You treat anger, fear, and sadness not as enemies to be banished, but as signals to be interpreted, harnessed if need be, and then gently released. In time, you realize that calm is your birthright, your baseline, and that storms of emotion are passing weather patterns, not the definition of your climate. Repeating it silently can help you ride out waves of anger or anxiety. But even beyond these tactics, the real transformation comes when Stoic calm becomes your natural lens, the perspective through which you view all of life's fluctuations. You stop resisting the unchangeable and start directing your energy where it counts. You relish the present moment without losing sight of eternal values. You treat anger, fear, and sadness not as enemies to be banished, but as signals to be interpreted, harnessed if need be, and then gently released. In time, you realize that calm is your birthright, your baseline, and that storms of emotion are passing weather patterns, not the definition of your climate. Let me also speak directly to you as a man possibly balancing a career, relationships, perhaps fatherhood, or even the responsibilities of leadership in your community. You might feel tremendous pressure to always have answers, to perform, to protect those you care about. When the burden grows heavy, remember that composure does not demand you solve everything instantly. It demands that you do not let panic or frustration rob you of clarity. If you find yourself overwhelmed, take that breath, step away from the immediate fray, and ask, what is the wisest next step I can take right now? That single question, asked from a place of calm, can cut through the fog of stress and guide you methodically toward a solution. Men sometimes confide in me that they fear calm composure might dull their competitive edge. They worry that without the fire of anger or the jolt of anxiety, they will lose their drive. Stoicism, however, does not kill ambition, it refines it. Instead of competing from a place of frantic energy, you compete from a place of controlled focus. Instead of letting fear push you to overwork or sabotage rivals, you harness your determination with deliberate strategy and fair play. Calm composure can, in fact, enhance your performance in high-stakes scenarios because your decisions flow from reasoned judgment rather than raw impulse. Should you doubt the practicality of these ideas, consider great historical figures known for their cool heads under pressure. Leaders who faced wars, revolutions, or crises with unflappable resolve. Winston Churchill, for instance, was known to exude calm even during the darkest hours of the Second World War, buoying the morale of an entire nation. While he was not a Stoic philosopher by label, the principle remains. Composure can shape not only your personal well-being, but the collective spirit of those around you. People are drawn to someone who remains steady when the world wobbles. But let us not wander too far into lofty realms. I trust you want to know how all this translates into the next difficult client meeting, the next argument with your teenager, or the next wave of anxiety about your finances or health. In the rest of this exploration, we will continue to flesh out Stoic methods, bridging ancient wisdom with modern realities. We will see that composure is not a relic of a distant past, but a living discipline we can all adopt. We will examine scenarios from everyday life, see how calm might be threatened, and how we can uphold it in the face of real challenges. The overarching theme is that composure arises from internal mastery rather than external manipulation. The world is too vast and uncertain for any of us to control all the variables. Attempts to do so often end in futility and stress. The Stoics, therefore, direct us inward, urging us to rearrange our mental frameworks instead. Master your perspective, your desires, your aversions, and you discover a peace that external chaos cannot easily shatter. To maintain composure is to stand firm in the knowledge that events are not good or bad in themselves. It is our interpretation and reaction that decide the effect on our soul. Yet do not interpret this to mean we must passively accept harmful situations. If you can change a wrong or prevent a harm, Stoicism says you should. But do so calmly, not from anger or fear. If your workplace is toxic, remain composed while seeking a better position or voicing your concerns. If a relationship consistently undermines your well-being, address it with steady resolve, or detach yourself if it cannot be salvaged. The composure we speak of is dynamic, not passive. It empowers you to act with clarity instead of impulsivity. In my wanderings, I have seen men of vast wealth undone by a single public humiliation, their composure evaporating because their sense of self was tethered to the illusions of fame or money. I have also seen humble men of meager resources who stand unperturbed in the face of mockery or hardship. Their secret was not in their bank accounts, but in their minds, which they governed with a quiet confidence, a Stoic lens. Such is the power of internal mastery over external advantage. And that, my friend, is precisely why I believe adopting Stoic composure can transform your quality of life at every level. Let me close this first segment with a simple invitation. Over the next day or two, observe how you react to small annoyances. If someone cuts you off in traffic, or if your coworker leaves you an abrupt email, notice your internal state. Does your pulse quicken? Does your mind leap to resentment? Then see if you can insert a pause, a moment to remind yourself, I cannot control their action, only my response. Sometimes, just that little pause is enough to redirect your reaction from anger to acceptance, or from panic to practical problem solving. Keep track of these moments, not with judgment but curiosity. You may be amazed at how frequently your composure is tested, and how much better you feel when you pass the test by deploying Stoic calm rather than old habits of frustration. In the next sections, we will delve deeper into practical techniques, real-world examples, and the finer nuances of Stoic philosophy. My hope is to equip you with a robust mental toolkit so that no matter what storms life sends your way, be they personal conflicts, professional setbacks, or global upheavals, you remain anchored in your own steadiness. Through consistent practice, you will realize that the outer world can swirl in chaos, but your core remains unmoved, like a mountain standing timelessly amid changing seasons. And that, my friend, is the essence of maintaining your composure and calm like a Stoic in any situation. My friend, welcome back. If you followed my invitation at the end of our previous conversation, you may have spent some time observing your reactions to everyday irritations and testing the power of a brief pause before letting frustration take hold. If so, you might already sense the potential of Stoic composure. A small shift in perspective can yield a remarkably different emotional outcome. Yet what we have explored so far is but the starting line. To truly maintain your calm like a Stoic in any situation, you must delve deeper, refining the underlying principles and weaving them into your daily life. That is our task now. Before we move forward, let me remind you, true calm is not a transient state of relaxation that you access only during meditation or on a weekend getaway. It is a steadiness of mind that you carry into the complexities of everyday life. Crowded commutes, tense workplaces, uncertain markets, unexpected crises, disagreements with loved ones. Stoic composure is the discipline of seeing events for what they are, accepting those outside your control, and responding to challenges from a place of unshakable inner control. Some days you might slip. That is natural. But each slip can become an impetus for further growth. Let us begin this segment by dissecting why composure is so essential. Many men strive for success in material terms, wealth, status, achievements, hoping that external gains will grant them peace of mind. While such pursuits can be worthwhile, they do not guarantee emotional steadiness. We have all heard tales of wealthy, famous men undone by trivial setbacks or personal slights, dissolving into fury or despair at the slightest downturn. In contrast, we have also encountered humble individuals who possess an almost eerie calm, seemingly untouched by life's turbulence. This disparity arises because composure is not a function of external success. It is rooted in our interpretation of events and the mental habits we cultivate. Stoicism makes explicit that if you cannot master your interpretations, no amount of worldly advantage can spare you from the throes of anxiety and anger. Given this, let us explore a concept central to the Stoic worldview: the interplay between impressions and assent. The Stoics believed that when an external event occurs, a rude comment, a piece of unfortunate news, our mind receives an impression of that event, akin to a snapshot. Immediately after, we either withhold or grant assent to that impression's interpretation. For example, you might initially feel, "He insulted me, so I'm humiliated." But upon reflection, you might realize, "His words do not define me." The humiliation only becomes real if I consent to that interpretation. In the Stoic model, composure flourishes when we learn to pause and examine these impressions before automatically assenting to catastrophic or self-defeating conclusions. One practical method of harnessing this principle is to question your first reaction the moment you feel anger or anxiety flare. Ask yourself, is my interpretation true? Is it the only possible viewpoint? Might there be another explanation or a different way to see this? If a colleague speaks curtly to you, perhaps they are under stress, or they meant no actual offense but simply lacked social grace at that moment. By entertaining alternative explanations, you create a mental buffer, which keeps your composure intact. Over time, you become adept at discerning which impressions warrant your assent and which do not. This is not to say you grow naive or gullible, only that you learn to differentiate between facts and the emotional spin you might initially put on them. From impressions and assent, we naturally progress to the question of emotional triggers. In modern life, triggers are legion. Someone cuts you off in traffic, your phone pings incessantly with demands, a social media post rubs you the wrong way, a piece of alarming news hits the headlines. Each instance can be a spark that ignites your temper or anxiety. Stoics encourage us to treat these sparks as opportunities for practice. Instead of lamenting that the world is full of irritations, welcome them as exercises in self-control. This approach changes your relationship with stress. Whenever you feel that jolt, a flash of anger, a tightening in the chest, you can silently thank the universe for the chance to refine your composure. Does this sound a bit counterintuitive? Indeed, but it also flips adversity on its head, turning frustration into fuel for growth. I recall a period in my life when I worked in an office thick with office politics. Rumors ran rampant, petty rivalries festered, and people gossiped about each other at every turn. At first, I found the environment unbearable. My irritation soared daily, and I considered quitting. But as I studied Stoic teachings more deeply, I realized that this environment, though toxic, was also a near-constant training ground for composure. Every rumor or snide remark that reached my ears presented a test. Would I let it poison my mood? or could I remain calm and unaffected? I began to see the office as a dojo for the mind, where each day's friction sharpened my skills. By the time I eventually moved on to a healthier workplace, I found myself far less reactive, not only at work, but in personal interactions as well. Adversity became a crucible in which my composure was tempered. A vital component of Stoic composure is self-awareness, the ability to observe your mental and emotional states without becoming lost in them. This is where certain meditative practices or mindful pauses can be invaluable. While you need not devote hours a day to sitting cross-legged in silent contemplation, weaving moments of mindfulness throughout your routine can do wonders for your calm. For instance, the next time you realize your heart is pounding after reading an alarming email, take 3 slow, deep breaths. On each exhale, silently say, "Release." Then recheck your emotional temperature. Often, you will notice that your initial reaction softens, making room for more balanced thinking. Over days and weeks, these small interventions accumulate, building a foundation of self-awareness. But do keep in mind that Stoic composure is not about emotional suppression. A Stoic man still feels sadness at a friend's passing, frustration at a genuine injustice, or excitement at good fortune. The difference is that he does not become enslaved by these emotions. If sadness arises, he allows it to pass through him, recognizing its naturalness while not letting it spiral into despair. If anger arises, he identifies whether it is based on a genuine moral wrong or a mere personal slight. If the former, he can channel it constructively. If the latter, he can choose to let it go. This nuance is crucial. Stoicism does not mean turning into an emotionless statue, but rather harnessing emotional energy in service of virtue and wisdom. At this juncture, let us refine our understanding of virtue in the Stoic sense. For the ancient Stoics, virtue included wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. Maintaining composure is inseparable from practicing these virtues. Wisdom helps you see past knee-jerk judgments and opt for a measured response. Courage allows you to face difficult truths without panic. Justice keeps you from lashing out unfairly or shirking moral duty when under pressure. And self-control, of course, is the backbone of composure itself. If you treat these virtues as your guiding lights, you have a moral framework that steadies you, even in situations that threaten to unhinge you. Consider a scenario. You learn that a business partner misused company funds, placing your venture at risk. The immediate emotional impulse might be fury. How dare they jeopardize all you worked for? In a fury, you might be tempted to retaliate, to verbally eviscerate them, or to shut them out with finality. But Stoic virtue counsels a calmer approach. Wisdom might prompt you to gather facts and understand the full scope of the situation. Justice reminds you to handle matters ethically and ensure fairness in how you address their wrongdoing. Courage helps you face the financial repercussions openly rather than denying or avoiding the problem. And self-control keeps your anger in check so you can make prudent decisions rather than vindictive ones. By aligning with these virtues, you navigate the crisis with composure, potentially salvaging aspects of the business or at least preserving your own moral integrity. Another cornerstone of calm is managing expectations. Much of our frustration stems from unexamined assumptions about how life should unfold. We expect smooth traffic, polite colleagues, unwavering health, timely successes, and we are crestfallen or enraged when reality does not conform. Stoicism urges us to anticipate life's variability instead of demanding perpetual convenience. If you commute, recognize that some days traffic may be impossible. If you run a business, know that not all ventures succeed on the first try. This is not pessimism, but realism. By mentally acknowledging that setbacks are part of life, you reduce the shock value when they occur. As a result, you remain calmer, better positioned to respond resourcefully. Let me share another personal anecdote. In my early 30s, I launched a small consulting practice. I poured my heart into it, expecting rapid growth because I believed I had identified a golden niche. When the first 6 months yielded only modest results, I grew discouraged and impatient. I considered drastic changes that might have compromised my original vision. But reflecting on Stoic lessons, I recognized that expecting instant success was an unreasonable assumption. Resilience is built by steady effort, learning from small failures, and iterating. By recalibrating my expectations, accepting that real growth might take a year or more, I recovered my composure. I continued building relationships and refining my offerings. Within 2 years, the practice found its footing. Had I not tempered my initial expectations, I might have panicked or quit too soon, all because of a mismatch between reality and my demands. Now, some exciting news. Our channel now offers a members club. By joining it, you'll unlock exclusive benefits, deeper content dives, and personal insights. Join us on this journey, and let's build a meaningful life together. And I also humbly ask you to leave a comment, as it helps my channel immensely. If you do not know what to comment, just write "better" every day so I know you reached this far. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Also, I've linked some books on Stoicism that helped me become the man I am today, and will also help you achieve a Stoic mindset. Now let us address environmental and social factors that can erode composure. We live in an era of constant connectivity, bombarded by online arguments, sensational headlines, and the curated dramas of social media. If you find your calm repeatedly undermined by these influences, a Stoic approach might entail setting boundaries. For instance, limit the frequency or duration of your social media usage. Curate your news intake, focusing on reputable sources without subjecting yourself to a perpetual cascade of clickbait. Remember, the Stoic principle of focusing on what you can control applies here as well. You cannot fix every injustice or stupidity you encounter online, but you can choose how much of it you expose yourself to and how you respond internally. Similarly, if certain social circles or acquaintances persistently stir up negativity or chaos, complaining incessantly, gossiping, or undermining your peace of mind, you have the right to reduce your interactions with them. This does not mean judging them harshly. It merely means protecting your emotional environment. Stoicism does not require you to endure toxic influences indefinitely. You can remain polite yet steadfast in prioritizing your mental well-being. Now consider how Stoicism speaks to conflicts that arise in personal relationships. Suppose you have a dear friend or family member whose behavior sometimes angers or hurts you. Instead of letting resentment accumulate or launching into heated exchanges, you might reflect on what precisely triggers you. Are you reacting to a difference in values, or is it your ego stung by perceived disrespect? If the friend's behavior genuinely crosses moral lines, addressing it calmly is warranted. But if it mostly disturbs your pride, you might choose to let it go, or gently discuss the matter from a place of curiosity rather than accusation. By approaching conflict with composure, you preserve the relationship's foundation, focusing on genuine understanding rather than winning an argument. One might recall Seneca's letters, where he advised that a wise man corrects another person's faults by example, not by railing at them. The calm man, leading by patient counsel, can often effect more change in others than the angry man who tears them down. Inevitably, we must also address the domain of self-doubt and inner turmoil. Many men struggle with composure, not because of external irritations, but because of internal insecurities: fear of not measuring up, guilt about past mistakes, anxiety about the future. Stoic practice meets these struggles head-on by reminding us that what truly defines us is the virtue of our current choices, not our past failings or the uncertain future. Epictetus, who was born into slavery, did not let his enslaved status define his inner worth. He recognized that in each present moment, he could choose to act with reason and integrity. So too can you. If negative self-talk arises, "I am not good enough, I always fail, I'll never succeed," expose it as an unhelpful impression. Ask, does this statement serve me? Is it undeniably true? Likely, the answer is no. Then reorient yourself. I can take the next right step now, or I can learn from this slip and improve. This shift keeps you calmly rooted in constructive action instead of swirling in self-defeating narratives. Alongside these mental techniques, do not forget the physical dimension. A tense body often breeds a tense mind. Ensure that you care for your physical temple through adequate sleep, some form of regular movement, be it weight training, running, martial arts, or simply walking, and a balanced diet. These are not merely health tips, but Stoic imperatives if you aim to maintain composure. If your body is chronically fatigued or agitated by poor nutrition, your willpower to remain calm is eroded. Conversely, A healthier body supports the stamina you need for mental discipline. We must also reflect on how to sustain composure in larger crises, not just minor daily annoyances. Let us imagine a serious event: job loss, a romantic betrayal, a significant health scare, or losing a loved one. In such times, composure might seem an impossible ideal. Understand that Stoic calm does not deny grief or concern. It simply does not allow these emotions to derail all rational function. If a loved one passes away, you will naturally grieve. However, you can still preserve composure by acknowledging death as part of life's cycle, cherishing memories, and supporting those left behind, rather than collapsing into hopeless despair. In cases of job loss, you can feel disappointment and uncertainty, yet remain proactive in seeking new opportunities, refusing to let panic sabotage your judgment. Time and again, the Stoics emphasize that events beyond our control, sickness, death, market fluctuations, need not devastate us internally if we anchor ourselves in what truly belongs to us, our capacity to choose a dignified response. Another advanced application of Stoic composure is in the face of hostility or confrontation. Suppose you are confronted, perhaps in a heated meeting or even a tense public encounter, by someone who attacks you verbally or questions your character. The immediate human impulse might be to retaliate, but recall the Stoic stance. You cannot control their behavior, only your interpretation and response. A calm, steady demeanor in such confrontations often disarms the aggressor. He expects you to react with equal aggression, and when you do not, his momentum stalls. You might simply say, "I hear your point, but I disagree," or "I see you are upset, let us clarify the facts." By refusing to mirror hostility, you invite a more constructive tone. Even if the other person persists in aggression, you remain anchored in your principle of composure. Observers often respect the man who does not sink to petty quarrels or public shouting matches. This approach preserves your credibility and can yield better outcomes than an impulsive shout-fest would. We should also discuss the role of purposeful reflection, sometimes called journaling or self-examination. Marcus Aurelius famously kept his meditations as a private journal, recording thoughts on impermanence, virtue, and dealing with adversity. Each night, you might similarly jot down where your composure faltered and why. Did you lose your temper when a coworker disagreed with you? Did you spiral into anxiety after reading a negative headline? By scrutinizing these moments, you become aware of patterns. Perhaps you discover that skipping lunch or lacking sleep leaves you more prone to outbursts. Perhaps certain topics like finances or politics consistently spark strong emotional reactions. With this knowledge, you can prepare better, sleep sufficiently, eat properly, avoid engaging with inflammatory content on an empty stomach, or practice extra mindfulness when dealing with your known triggers. Over time, daily reflection becomes a powerful ally, reinforcing Stoic composure by revealing blind spots and highlighting small victories. There's a further aspect of maintaining composure that we might call grace under scrutiny. Men who occupy leadership positions, be they in business, community projects, or even within their families, often find themselves watched closely. People notice how a leader reacts to challenges. Does he panic? Does he lash out? Or does he remain calm, seeking solutions without letting negativity dominate the atmosphere? The man who demonstrates Stoic composure under scrutiny not only upholds his own serenity, but also sets a stabilizing example for others. Anxiety can be contagious, but so can calm. By radiating steadiness, you help prevent group situations from devolving into chaos. This responsibility can also motivate you to stay disciplined, knowing that your demeanor has ripple effects on those who look to you for guidance. Yet, a caution: do not feign composure you have not earned. Pretending to be calm while you inwardly seethe can lead to eventual eruptions or passive-aggressive behavior. Stoic composure is authentic, arising from genuine mental discipline. If you are in a heated conflict and you feel fury surging, take a moment to collect yourself. Perhaps literally excuse yourself from the room if feasible. Breathe, remind yourself of your values, and then return with your equanimity at least partially restored. Trying to forcibly plaster a calm expression on your face while raging inside is not Stoicism but denial. The Stoic path demands honest self-examination. If you find yourself overwhelmed, step back, gather your mind, and re-enter the situation from a place of sincerity. In addition, Humor can be a subtle ally of composure. Sometimes an absurd or frustrating predicament can be diffused by recognizing its inherent comedy. Perhaps your flight is delayed by hours and tempers all around you are boiling. You might shrug and quietly laugh at the universal folly of modern travel. Sharing a light remark or wry observation with fellow passengers can create a moment of human connection, softening tension. The Stoics were not humorless. They recognized that laughter can lighten the weight of minor misfortunes, reminding us of our shared humanity. As long as the humor is kind-hearted and not at someone else's expense, it can be a gentle refuge for the mind. Another useful Stoic exercise is gratitude, a topic often overshadowed by discussions of discipline and self-control. But gratitude helps preserve composure by focusing your attention on what remains good in your life, even when stress or setbacks loom large. The next time you face a disappointment, pause to recall a few things that are still going right. A supportive friend, a skill you have built, a small moment of beauty in the day. This shift in attention can prevent you from spiraling into hopelessness. Gratitude does not cancel out the problem, but it balances your perspective, reminding you that life is rarely all negative at once. The Stoic view is that while losses and pain are inevitable, there are always threads of fortune still woven through your experience, if you take the time to notice. Now, let us consider how these various threads, impressions and assent, environmental mindfulness, realistic expectations, virtuous decision-making, daily reflection, appropriate humor, gratitude, coalesce into a coherent practice of calm composure. At first, you might need to remind yourself actively throughout the day. Pause, breathe, consider my interpretation, respond from virtue. Over time, this becomes second nature. You begin to sense that your mind is no longer a chaotic leaf tossed by every gust of external event. Instead, it is more like a grounded tree, bending when necessary, but never uprooted. It is an intensely liberating feeling, one that fosters confidence. Confidence in this sense is not bravado. It is the knowledge that regardless of external outcomes, victory or defeat, praise or blame, you remain stable within. The Stoics would say that such a man becomes invincible in the only sense that matters. He cannot be conquered by emotional storms because his fortitude resides in his reasoned choice, not in fleeting externalities. This translates into real-world advantages. Employers, colleagues, and family members see you as reliable. Opportunities may arise because you are known for your level-headedness under pressure. Meanwhile, your personal life benefits from reduced stress, less conflict, and an increased capacity to enjoy simple moments untainted by constant inner turmoil. Let me offer a small mental image that might help anchor these ideas. Picture yourself as a harbor in a storm. Ships come and go. These ships are events, people, crises, changes. You are the harbor, still there, stable. You do not swirl away with the waves. The storms rage overhead, but eventually they pass. The ships might be battered or lost at sea, but you remain. Being the harbor does not mean ignoring the storm or denying it. It means you have a steadfast core that does not dissolve in the face of external chaos. This is composure in essence. You can tend to the ships, i.e., address problems, but you do not become them, nor do you let their tumult disrupt your foundational calm. An important caveat, however, the Stoic approach to composure does not reduce life to mere passivity. Stoicism is active in its moral dimension. If an injustice occurs, Stoic calm does not say, do nothing. It says, address the injustice with reason, courage, and fairness, unclouded by rash anger. If a crisis demands urgent action, Stoic calm does not say, sit quietly. It says, act swiftly but from a clear mind, not from panic. The difference is subtle, yet profound. A panicked response might be directionless or overly drastic. A Stoic response can be bold, yet targeted. So if you are naturally a doer, a problem solver, rest assured that Stoic composure will only enhance your effectiveness, not hinder it. At this stage, you might be wondering how to measure your progress. One measure is to observe how swiftly you recover from emotional surges. Does anger or anxiety grip you for hours or days, or do you redirect yourself within minutes or seconds? Another measure is how you handle repeated triggers. Perhaps you once raged every time your child left the house a mess. Now, you might calmly address the issue, set consequences or guidelines, or even accept a certain level of clutter if it's not truly worth the fight. saving your emotional energy for more important matters. When you see these shifts, less reactivity, quicker emotional recovery, more clarity in tense moments, you know your practice is bearing fruit. In closing this second part, I encourage you to continue building upon the insights we have uncovered. Cultivate daily reflection, perhaps just 5 minutes before bed, to revisit the day's triggers and your responses. Make note of small victories in composure and learn from the instances where you slipped. Remember the art of impressions and assent. You need not instantly believe or act on every negative thought. Challenge your assumptions, weigh alternate interpretations, and remain open to the possibility that what initially feels like a catastrophe might be a mere inconvenience or even an unrecognized opportunity. Carry these principles with you into the daily grind, your workplace, your home life, your friendships, your moments of solitude. Challenge yourself to practice acceptance where you have no control and to respond with tempered action where you do. Keep in mind the virtues that guide Stoic living: wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. Each day, in small ways, you can align your choices with these virtues. Over time, this alignment crystallizes into the calm composure you seek. In our next segment, we will deepen our examination, exploring more real-world applications and common stumbling blocks. We will consider how to maintain composure in the face of social pressures, personal ambition, and interpersonal dilemmas. We will also discuss how to reconcile Stoic detachment with genuine passion and engagement in life, ensuring that calm does not become apathy. For now, let these reflections sink in, and as you go about your day, see yourself as the harbor in a storm. Let the waters swell if they must, but let your foundation remain unshaken, a testament to the quiet might of a man who has learned to master himself. My friend, welcome again. So far, we have explored the essence of composure from a Stoic perspective, outlining practical methods for transforming everyday irritations into opportunities for self-mastery, and discussing how deeper practices like managing impressions, cultivating virtues, and grounding ourselves in realism can help us remain calm when life grows turbulent. In this final segment of our conversation, we shall delve further into real-world scenarios and psychological considerations that often challenge our ability to maintain equanimity. We will also reflect on how Stoic composure might enrich your relationships, career, and overall sense of purpose. By the end, I hope you'll feel equipped not only to preserve your calm in most circumstances, but also to radiate it to those around you. Let us begin with an often overlooked but critical aspect of composure: dealing with uncertainty. Many men find their tranquility drained by endless what-if scenarios. What if the market crashes? What if my health deteriorates? What if a loved one abandons me? What if new technologies render my skills obsolete? The mind, left to wander, can conjure 1,000 dire possibilities. The Stoics acknowledged that the future is inherently uncertain. Their approach was not to bury their heads in the sand, but to confront uncertainty with a twofold strategy: plan where you can, and accept what you cannot control. Suppose, for instance, you worry about the stability of your job. A Stoic response would be to take prudent steps, maintain or expand your skill set, keep your resume updated, build a financial cushion. At the same time, you would remind yourself that even if the worst happens and you lose your position, you possess inner resources, skills, resilience, and moral fortitude to rebuild. You do not need to live in the shadow of that fear, allowing it to gnaw at you. Instead, by pairing practical preparation with acceptance of the unknowable future, you anchor your mind in the present. You may still feel a twinge of anxiety now and then, but it will not dominate you. You recognize that beyond a certain point, worry accomplishes nothing but self-torment, and so you let it go. This principle, plan, then release, can be applied to countless aspects of life. If you worry about your health, adopt a consistent diet and exercise regimen, schedule routine checkups, and address known issues. Having done so, you accept that nature can still surprise you. If you fret about your children's future, you guide them as best you can and nurture them with love, while knowing you cannot orchestrate every chapter of their destiny. Each time you catch yourself spiraling into anxious speculation about events beyond your direct influence, you can pause, breathe, and say, "I have done or will do what I can. The rest is not in my hands." This mantra, or any variation you prefer, can serve as a mental anchor whenever the unknown begins to erode your calm. Next, let us address social and cultural pressures that strain composure. We live in a time of rampant comparison, fueled by social media and an obsession with image. Men often feel pressed to exhibit a flawless lifestyle, accumulate status symbols, or measure up to shifting cultural ideals. These demands can breed constant stress. Am I successful enough? Respected enough? Fit enough? Attractive enough? The Stoics would remind us that these external metrics of worth are fragile illusions, as fleeting as a puff of smoke. Your real worth, according to Stoic philosophy, lies in the character you display, your honesty, courage, kindness, self-discipline, and how well you fulfill your unique role in life. Let the world chase shallow standards. You stand firm in the knowledge that true peace stems from virtue, not validation. This shift in perspective releases an enormous weight. When you no longer tie your self-esteem to others' judgments or ephemeral achievements, you free yourself to live authentically. Imagine a scenario. A colleague flaunts a new sports car and whispers condescending remarks about your older vehicle. A less grounded man might seethe with envy or scramble to upgrade his own car just to keep pace. A Stoic man, by contrast, quietly reaffirms that a car is merely a tool for transport, not a reflection of moral worth or personal dignity. He might appreciate the colleague's new purchase without letting it prick his pride. This same approach can apply to many of life's status triggers, from clothing to homes to social circles. Ultimately, you remain composed because your sense of self does not hinge on these fleeting comparisons. But perhaps the greatest test of calm for many of us comes in the domain of family life and close relationships. Living with or near loved ones can spark friction precisely because the emotional stakes are high. We care deeply, so disagreements, disappointments, or misunderstandings can strike at our hearts. Stoic composure here involves balancing genuine affection with a recognition that we cannot fully control our partners, children, or relatives. Yes, we influence them, but they possess their own minds and destinies. In our next segment, we will deepen our examination, exploring more real-world applications and common stumbling blocks. We will consider how to maintain composure in the face of social pressures, personal ambition, and interpersonal dilemmas. We will also discuss how to reconcile Stoic detachment with genuine passion and engagement in life, ensuring that calm does not become apathy. For now, let these reflections sink in, and as you go about your day, see yourself as the harbor in a storm. Let the waters swell if they must, but let your foundation remain unshaken, a testament to the quiet might of a man who has learned to master himself. My friend, welcome again. So far, we have explored the essence of composure from a Stoic perspective, outlining practical methods for transforming everyday irritations into opportunities for self-mastery, and discussing how deeper practices like managing impressions, cultivating virtues, and grounding ourselves in realism can help us remain calm when life grows turbulent. In this final segment of our conversation, we shall delve further into real-world scenarios and psychological considerations that often challenge our ability to maintain equanimity. We will also reflect on how Stoic composure might enrich your relationships, career, and overall sense of purpose. By the end, I hope you'll feel equipped not only to preserve your calm in most circumstances, but also to radiate it to those around you. Let us begin with an often overlooked but critical aspect of composure: dealing with uncertainty. Many men find their tranquility drained by endless what-if scenarios. What if the market crashes? What if my health deteriorates? What if a loved one abandons me? What if new technologies render my skills obsolete? The mind, left to wander, can conjure 1,000 dire possibilities. The Stoics acknowledged that the future is inherently uncertain. Their approach was not to bury their heads in the sand, but to confront uncertainty with a twofold strategy: plan where you can, and accept what you cannot control. Suppose, for instance, you worry about the stability of your job. A Stoic response would be to take prudent steps, maintain or expand your skill set, keep your resume updated, build a financial cushion. At the same time, you would remind yourself that even if the worst happens and you lose your position, you possess inner resources, skills, resilience, and moral fortitude to rebuild. You do not need to live in the shadow of that fear, allowing it to gnaw at you. Instead, by pairing practical preparation with acceptance of the unknowable future, you anchor your mind in the present. You may still feel a twinge of anxiety now and then, but it will not dominate you. You recognize that beyond a certain point, worry accomplishes nothing but self-torment, and so you let it go. This principle, plan, then release, can be applied to countless aspects of life. When a spouse or child makes a choice you disagree with, you can voice your concerns calmly. However, if they persist, you accept that their journey may diverge from your preferences. Anger or manipulation will rarely strengthen the bond. Better to maintain a foundation of respect, exemplifying the virtues you wish them to adopt, rather than berating them for not being who you desire. Consider a father who wants his son to choose a respectable career, say in finance or law, while the son yearns to be an artist. A father lacking composure might rage, guilt-trip, or threaten to withdraw support. The Stoic father, though he may be disappointed, would pause and reflect, is it mine to dictate my son's path? Or is it mine to guide him and love him, trusting him to find his own calling? The father might calmly express concerns about financial stability, but would ultimately accept that the son's life is the son's to live. Even if the father believes the son's choice is risky, he does not let fear sabotage the relationship. Instead, he fosters an environment where mutual respect can endure, come what may. This approach preserves the father's composure, spares him from constant fretting, and often nurtures a healthier family dynamic. Relationships with spouses or long-term partners can also benefit from Stoic principles, especially regarding communication during conflicts. When tensions rise, men sometimes resort to raised voices or stonewalling. Stoic composure offers a middle ground. Pause, recollect your deeper love or respect for the partner, and re-enter the conversation with a calm willingness to understand. You might say, I hear you're upset. Let me take a moment to gather my thoughts so we can talk without anger. This brief respite can diffuse an escalating quarrel, allowing reason and compassion to guide you both. Over time, your partner may learn to mirror this approach, and arguments that once flared into heated battles may become milder, more constructive disagreements. The relationship grows sturdier because you consistently show that you value harmony and mutual understanding over the need to prove yourself right. We also cannot overlook the workplace, a crucible where composure is tested daily by deadlines, office politics, performance pressures, and competing egos. Indeed, a Stoic approach in the professional arena can elevate you above common frictions. You project reliability when you do not lose your temper under stress or lash out at colleagues. It does not mean you never advocate firmly for yourself or your team, but you do so without resorting to outbursts or passive aggression. Even in cutthroat environments, consistent composure can be a surprising advantage. As others learn, they can trust you not to act rashly in pivotal moments. If you lead a team, your calm presence may instill confidence, stabilizing morale during crises or major transitions. Another challenge for composure arises in the context of personal ambition and drive. Many men hold big dreams, expanding a business, achieving artistic recognition, or excelling in sports or academia. Ambition itself is not unstoic, provided you remember that external success is ultimately beyond your full control. You can dedicate yourself wholeheartedly to a pursuit, but if circumstances conspire against it, an unforeseen recession, a catastrophic injury, or a shift in market demand, you can either shatter emotionally or adapt stoically. The latter path acknowledges that the measure of your life is not in the final outcomes, but in the consistent excellence and integrity you bring to your efforts. You still aim high, but you do not let potential failure or setbacks unravel your peace of mind. This balanced stance can enable you to pivot gracefully if one route closes, applying your talents elsewhere without bitterness. In addition to the everyday strategies we've discussed, breathing exercises, journaling, cultivating virtue, setting realistic expectations, some men find it helpful to adopt mental frameworks or short reminders that keep their composure alive in the thick of action. For example, you might adopt the phrase, "Focus on the next right action," as a guiding principle whenever you feel overwhelmed. Alternatively, you might recall the ephemeral nature of each day. Memento mori, the Stoic reminder that life is finite, and thus not squander it on pointless anger or anxiety. Another might be amor fati, love of fate, meaning you embrace all experiences, pleasant or painful, as opportunities to grow. If the day deals you a setback, you respond, "Good, I shall learn from this," rather than, "Why me?" Each of these mantras anchors you in a Stoic mindset, giving you a stable reference point. Now let us consider potential pitfalls on the path to Stoic composure. One is the risk of misinterpreting Stoicism as emotional repression. We have touched on this before, but it bears repeating. The Stoics did not advocate squashing your feelings or becoming indifferent to life's joys and sorrows. Instead, they called for rational awareness and mastery of your responses. If you face a personal tragedy, genuine sorrow is a natural emotion. You do not scold yourself for feeling it, nor do you pretend you are unscathed. The composure lies in allowing grief to flow without letting it drive you to destructive behavior or hopeless despair. In time, you integrate that sorrow into a broader perspective of life's impermanence. So do not judge yourself if tears come or your heart aches. Stoicism is about not compounding that pain with frantic mental narratives or impulsive destructive actions. Another pitfall is overly intellectualizing. Some men take Stoicism as an academic pursuit, devouring texts and quoting Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus while failing to apply the lessons in daily life. Knowledge alone does not guarantee composure. You must actively train your mind like a craftsman refining his technique. Each day provides raw material. A disagreement with a coworker, a delayed flight, a financial worry. These are your opportunities to practice Stoic calm. If you glean only intellectual satisfaction from reading the ancients, but never pause to breathe when anger surges, you are missing the essence. Stoicism is a philosophy of action, not merely a collection of wise sayings. A further common stumbling block is perfectionism. The belief that once you embark on this path, you must never lose your temper or succumb to anxiety. But we are all works in progress. Even Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private meditations about his frustrations and flaws. When you slip, do not castigate yourself relentlessly. Instead, reflect on what triggered you, note how you might respond better next time, and resolve to keep practicing. This humility fosters gradual improvement rather than paralyzing you with guilt. Over many months or years, you may realize that once frequent emotional outbursts have diminished considerably. That is real progress worth celebrating. Let us now ask, what does life look like once you have integrated Stoic composure into your core? You will still face challenges, of course. Some days you will be tested sorely. A health scare, a betrayal, or a financial blow might rock your world. But your default response, more and more, will be to breathe, to gather facts, to reflect on what truly lies within your control, and to act from reasoned choice rather than raw emotion. Others might remark on how calm you appear under pressures that make them flail. They may come to you for guidance or reassurance. You might notice that your sleep improves because your mind does not churn endlessly over uncontrollable variables. You might find that you bounce back from disappointments more quickly and that you harbor fewer grudges because you recognize how little is gained by clinging to resentment. This improved composure often enriches personal relationships. When friends or family members realize that you do not react impulsively or judge them hastily, they feel safer confiding in you. You become the voice of reason in your circle, someone who can be counted on to provide balanced perspectives. This does not mean you must solve others' problems, but your steady presence might help them find clarity. Should they come to you with a crisis, you remain calm enough to ask thoughtful questions rather than panicking or giving knee-jerk advice. Gradually, you become a pillar of support in your community, large or small. In the workplace, a composed man tends to garner respect. He does not bend under tight deadlines, nor does he lash out when a client is unreasonable. Instead, he methodically addresses issues, communicates assertively yet politely, and maintains a stable demeanor that sets a tone for the team. If you lead, you model the calm you wish your subordinates to emulate. If you follow, your superiors see you as dependable, someone who won't crumble or cause drama in high-stakes moments. Over time, this reputation can open doors to leadership or critical roles, as organizations often look to entrust responsibilities to the level-headed. Consider how Stoic composure also heightens your creativity and problem-solving. Panic constricts thinking, anchoring us in fight or flight mode, whereas composure expands our mental range. You see nuances, alternatives, and potential solutions that fear might have concealed. This is why calm people often excel in negotiations or crisis management. They do not let emotional surges block their reasoning. Instead, they remain curious, exploring possibilities until a path forward emerges. This skill is invaluable, whether you are negotiating a business deal or navigating a personal dilemma. Some men, upon embracing Stoic composure, begin to experience a deepened sense of purpose. Having reduced the noise of petty irritations and self-imposed anxieties, they find space to ask bigger questions. What is my life's direction? How can I serve a cause beyond myself? Which virtues do I wish to embody? Freed from constant reactivity, they can direct their energy toward meaningful goals or service. That might involve volunteering, mentoring younger men, becoming active in a community organization, or focusing on creative endeavors that reflect their passion. Their sense of calm enables them to commit wholeheartedly, undistracted by ephemeral dramas. A final element worth discussing is the legacy of your composure. Inevitably, we all must face the end of our days. When your final hour approaches, be it near or far, what will matter most? Will it be that you possessed many material accolades, or that you navigated life's storms with integrity and equanimity? The Stoics contended that what endures is the quality of your character, the memories of your conduct in the hearts of those who knew you, and the ripple effect of your example. If you consistently act from a place of calm virtue, you shape not only your own destiny, but leave a quiet testament that others may follow. Even if you do not consider yourself a role model, your children, friends, or colleagues might regard your steadiness as a guiding light long after you are gone. This is not vanity. It is the recognition that each of us influences our environment. By mastering yourself, you elevate the moral and emotional climate of your immediate sphere, possibly touching lives in ways you never fully witness. Thus, Stoic composure resonates far beyond your personal comfort. It becomes a subtle force for harmony, wisdom, and courage in your circle of influence. The man who remains calm under duress can rescue group morale, de-escalate conflicts, or protect the vulnerable. He can defend principles without succumbing to hatred. He can lead a family, or a team, or a community through difficult transitions without fracturing. Indeed, one might call him unbreakable, not in the sense of never feeling pain, but in the sense of never letting pain or fear override his virtue. Now, as we draw our conversation to a close, I invite you to consider how you will solidify these teachings into your daily routines. Perhaps you will adopt a morning ritual. Upon waking, spend a minute in stillness, recalling that today you will aim to keep your peace, no matter the provocations. Then, as you go about your tasks, you remain alert for those small sparks of irritation or anxiety. Each time you respond with a conscious pause, a breath, a reframing thought. By evening, you might jot down a few lines in a journal. Where did I succeed in composure today? Where did I stumble? And what can I learn? This cycle, morning intention, mindful practice, evening reflection, can gradually remodel your entire mental landscape. Do not be discouraged if progress feels slow. True mastery of composure is the work of a lifetime, and even the wisest among us stumble. Each day that you practice, each time you choose calm over chaos, you reinforce new neural pathways and habits. Over weeks and months, your baseline temperament shifts. You find yourself less easily provoked, less consumed by worry, more attuned to the possibilities within each challenge. This metamorphosis is quiet yet profound. You do not broadcast it with fanfare. You simply become a more serene, centered, and effective man. To emphasize the final point, Stoic composure is not an end state. It is a way of living, a method that helps you navigate adversity with grace, relationships with empathy, ambitions with clarity, and personal growth with patience. When properly understood and practiced, Stoicism does not strip your life of passion or color. Rather, it clears away destructive passions, leaving you free to pursue deeper fulfillment. Think of it as removing the static that disrupts the melody of your days. Once you reduce that noise, the genuine music of existence can be heard more clearly, whether that music is found in a fulfilling career, loving relationships, creative pursuits, or acts of service. With that, we reach the end of our structured exploration, yet the true journey is yours to continue. My earnest hope is that these reflections on composure guide you toward a calmer, richer engagement with life. Should storms gather on your horizon, and they will, sooner or later, may you stand firm, unshaken, prepared to face the gale with unwavering eyes and a quiet mind. Stoic composure is not a shield that blocks all blows. It is the unbreakable spirit that remains upright through them, growing stronger, wiser, and more compassionate along the way. And so, my friend, take these teachings with you, adapt them to your own style, and let your calm become a beacon for others who still flail in life's tempests. In doing so, you not only better your own condition, but also contribute to a more harmonious world, one in which composure and rational kindness might yet prevail over panic and aggression. Go forth then, and live as the Stoics intended, awake, reflective, disciplined, and free. May your composure be a daily testament to the boundless capacity of the human mind to rise above circumstance. Now, if any part of this message has been helpful to you, leave us your like and comment, helping the algorithm recommend it to someone who needs it at this time. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new videos, and if you look through the videos we've already uploaded, you're sure to find something to take with you. Have a good day.